My sister hijacked my engagement party to announce her pregnancy with my best friend using my money. Now she wants more. So, my sister Chloe basically detonated a bomb in the middle of my life at my own engagement party, revealing she was pregnant and secretly engaged to my then best friend Liam, all while everyone was supposed to be celebrating me and my fiancé, Mark. If that wasn't enough, I later found out the money I'd been loaning her for months, supposedly for emergencies and bills she couldn't cover, had actually funded their secret dates and lavish gifts. For years I'd been the family fixer, the reliable one, the emotional and sometimes financial sponge, especially where Chloe, the golden child, was concerned. But that night broke something deep inside me. 2 years have passed, marked by strange silence and deliberate distance. Now, facing the messy reality of the life she blew mine up to get, Chloe and my enabling parents are suddenly back, demanding I step up again for family. They seem to genuinely believe that after everything, I just fall back into my old role. They have no idea how much has changed. Growing up, I was the sensible one. Maya, the quiet, studious older sister. Chloe, 2 years younger, was the dazzling one, prettier, more outgoing, effortlessly charming. Or so it seemed. While I was hitting the books, getting scholarships, and building a stable, albeit not glamorous, career in data analysis, Chloe flitted from one passion to another, funded largely by mom and dad, and increasingly, by me. She had the artistic temperament, they'd say fondly, whenever she quit another job or needed help covering rent after splurging on a weekend trip. I was practical, stable Maya, she was vibrant, exciting Chloe. Our parents adored her spontaneity, her dramatic flair, even her occasional recklessness. My stability was expected. Boring, even. It wasn't said outright, not usually, but the subtext was always there. Chloe got praise for landing a part-time hostess job, I got a polite nod for a promotion. Chloe's chaotic finances were met with indulgent sighs and open wallets, my careful budgeting was just Maya being Maya. I wasn't unattractive, I don't think, but next to Chloe's vivaciousness, I often felt like a black and white photo beside a Technicolor movie. She had a way of pulling focus in any room, a magnetic quality I lacked. While I built quiet friendships based on shared interests and mutual respect, Chloe collected admirers like charms on a bracelet. One of those long-term fixtures in my life was Liam. We'd been friends since university, study buddies turned genuine confidants. He knew my family history, my frustrations with Chloe, my tendency to people-please my parents. He was the one person, besides Mark later on, who seemed to see me, not just Chloe's sensible sister. He worked in graphic design, often freelancing, so his income was less predictable than mine. Over the years, I'd helped him out a few times, spotting him cash for a deposit, lending him my car when his broke down. It always felt like what friends do. He was always grateful, always paid me back eventually. He became part of my chosen family. Mark came into my picture about 5 years ago. He's an engineer, steady, kind, intelligent, and refreshingly drama-free. He saw my quiet nature not as boring, but as calming. He appreciated my responsibility, my loyalty. He also saw the dynamic with my family almost immediately. He never outright criticized them, not at first, but he'd raise a gentle eyebrow when I'd recount another instance of bailing Chloe out or rearranging my plans to suit my parents' whims regarding her. "Are you sure that's fair to you, May?" he'd ask softly. He encouraged me to set boundaries, something I was historically terrible at. With his support, I started making small changes, saying no occasionally, prioritizing our plans. It caused friction, subtle at first. Mom would sound disappointed on the phone. Dad would make jokes about me being too busy for my family now. Chloe would oscillate between sulky silence and passive-aggressive comments about how nice it must be to have everything so sorted. Despite the undercurrents, things felt like they were moving in a positive direction for me. Mark and I got serious, moved in together, and eventually, he proposed. It was simple, private, and perfect, exactly what I wanted. We decided to host an engagement party. It was a big step for me. I'm not usually one for big celebrations centered around myself. I prefer intimate dinners, quiet nights in. But Mark gently encouraged it, saying we deserved to celebrate. And a part of me, the part that craved validation I rarely got from my family, wanted to share this happy milestone. We planned it carefully, a nice restaurant, a private room, invitations sent to close friends and family. It felt good, planning something solely for us, something happy. In the months leading up to the party, Chloe seemed needier than usual. There were constant emergencies. Her car needed urgent repairs, could I lend her $800? Her landlord was threatening eviction over unpaid rent, despite mom and dad subsidizing her apartment, another $1,200? Her freelance graphic design gig fell through, leaving her short for bills, $500 here, $300 there. Each time, there was a tearful phone call, a dramatic story, profuse promises to pay me back as soon as her next, always imminent, project paid out. I felt guilty even hesitating. She was my sister. Mom and dad would subtly pressure me too. You know how Chloe struggles, Maya. You're doing so well, it's good you can help her out. They framed it as sibling loyalty, as me being the successful one supporting the struggling artist. Liam, my supposed best friend, even chimed in once or twice, mentioning offhandedly how stressed Chloe seemed about money. Looking back, the coordinated act is nauseating. Mark was skeptical. Are you sure, May? That's a lot of money. Does she show you receipts for these repairs? Proof of the landlord's notice? I'd wave his concerns away, uncomfortable. She's my sister, Mark. I can't ask for proof. She sounded really upset. It was easier to lend the money than deal with the guilt trips and the potential family drama of refusing. Plus, a tiny, insidious part of me thought maybe this would finally earn me some genuine appreciation, maybe bridge the gap that always seemed to exist between Chloe and me. In total, over about 4 months, I loaned Chloe nearly $5,000. Money I'd earmarked for wedding savings, for fixing up our own place. The engagement party arrived. It was a lovely spring evening. The room looked beautiful, filled with flowers. Our friends were there, Mark's family, my parents, beaming proudly, or so I thought, and Chloe, looking particularly radiant. Liam was there too, naturally. He gave me a big hug, congratulating me effusively. So happy for you, May. You deserve this. I remember feeling a surge of warmth, thinking how lucky I was to have him, Mark, and my family celebrating with us. The first hour or so was lovely. Toasts were made, people mingled, Mark and I felt genuinely happy, surrounded by people we cared about. My parents seemed relaxed, chatting animatedly. Even Chloe was being pleasant, surprisingly so. Then came time for Mark and me to say a few words, thank everyone for coming. We stood up, holding hands. Mark started, talking about how we met, how much I meant to him. I was blushing, feeling a rare sense of being truly seen and celebrated. As he finished, and I prepared to speak, Chloe suddenly cleared her throat loudly, stepping forward. Actually, she announced, beaming, her hand protectively on her stomach, Mark and Maya aren't the only ones with exciting news tonight. A confused silence fell over the room. My parents looked momentarily startled, then expectant smiles bloomed on their faces. Chloe looked directly at Liam, who stepped forward to stand beside her, beaming just as broadly. Liam and I, Chloe continued, her voice ringing with manufactured joy, are also engaged. And we're expecting. The air went out of the room. Or maybe just out of my lungs. It felt like a physical blow. My engagement party. My moment. And she had hijacked it. Not just hijacked it, but dropped a double bombshell, her engagement and pregnancy, with my best friend. The implications hit me wave after wave. Liam. My friend. The one I confided in about Chloe. How long had this been going on? The looks exchanged, the sudden closeness I'd perhaps unconsciously registered but dismissed, it all crashed down. The silence stretched for a beat, then broke into a cacophony. My parents rushed forward, engulfing Chloe and Liam in ecstatic hugs. Oh, Chloe, darling. That's wonderful. My mother gushed, tears in her eyes. A baby. And Liam, welcome to the family. Dad clapped Liam on the back, grinning from ear to ear. My celebration? Completely forgotten. Mark and I were left standing there, stunned, appendages to their bigger, better news. Some guests looked awkward, shooting sympathetic glances my way. Others, caught up in the sudden drama, crowded around Chloe and Liam, offering congratulations. I felt numb. Mark squeezed my hand, his knuckles white. Are you okay? He murmured, his voice tight with anger on my behalf. I couldn't speak. I just stared at Chloe, who was basking in the attention, occasionally shooting me a look that wasn't apologetic, but triumphant. Liam avoided my gaze entirely. The rest of the evening was a blur of forced smiles and hollow congratulations directed my way, quickly followed by excited chatter about Chloe's news. My own engagement felt like an afterthought, a footnote at my own party. My parents, when they finally remembered me, offered platitudes. Isn't it wonderful, Maya? 2 happy announcements in one night. More the merrier. Mom chirped, completely oblivious or deliberately ignoring the knife twisting in my gut. Dad added, now you and Chloe can plan your weddings together. Won't that be fun? The thought made me physically ill. Liam eventually cornered me near the restrooms. Maya, look, I know the timing isn't great. He began, shuffling his feet. Timing? I choked out, the numbness starting to crack, replaced by ice-cold fury. You think this is about timing, Liam? We were going to tell you, he mumbled, still not meeting my eyes. Separately. But Chloe got excited. You know how she is. No, I said, my voice dangerously quiet. I don't think I know her at all. Or you. He flinched. It just sort of happened, May. We didn't mean to hurt you. When? I demanded. When did it just sort of happen? He hesitated. A few months ago. A few months. Coinciding precisely with the start of Chloe's emergencies. The $5,000. The blood drained from my face as another sickening piece clicked into place. The money, I whispered. The money I lent her. Liam looked profoundly uncomfortable now. Look, Chloe's been under a lot of stress. Was my money paying for your dates? I asked, the question hanging heavy and ugly in the air. Was it paying for the ring on her finger? Was it paying for you two to sneak around behind my back while I worried about her making rent? He couldn't answer. He just stared at the floor, guilt radiating off him. That was answer enough. I felt bile rise in my throat. I turned and walked away, leaving him standing there. Mark found me outside, taking deep breaths of the cool night air. He simply wrapped his arms around me. Let's go home, he said gently. We made quiet apologies to the few remaining guests who seemed genuinely concerned, ignored my parents' calls to stay, and left. The drive home was silent, punctuated only by my choked sobs. Mark didn't push me to talk, just held my hand, his presence a solid anchor in the wreckage. The days that followed were hellish. My parents called incessantly, initially oblivious, then annoyed when I didn't immediately bounce back and play happy families. Maya, you need to get over this, Mom said sternly. Chloe didn't mean any harm. She was just caught up in the moment. You should be happy for your sister. This jealousy isn't attractive. Jealousy? She thought I was jealous. The sheer lack of understanding, the casual dismissal of my hurt, was staggering. Dad took a different tack, trying the logic route. Look, Maya, practically speaking, 2 weddings, a baby coming. It's a lot for the family. We need everyone to pull together. Don't make this difficult. Make this difficult? I was making it difficult? Chloe sent a few breezy texts, acting as if nothing major had happened. Hey! Wanna go shopping for baby stuff soon? Smile followed by so crazy how things worked out. LOL. Let's grab coffee? I ignored them. Liam tried calling once, left a rambling voicemail apologizing again, saying he valued our friendship. I deleted it without listening to the end. Friendship. The word felt like ash in my mouth. The financial betrayal festered alongside the emotional one. Knowing my hard-earned money I'd given out of love and concern, and okay, maybe a dose of misguided people-pleasing, had funded their deception felt like a violation. I thought about the things I'd put off buying, the extra hours I'd worked, while they were presumably enjoying expensive dinners or weekend getaways on my dime. The sheer, calculated audacity of it was breathtaking. The turning point, the moment the last vestiges of denial shattered and my resolve hardened, came about 2 weeks later. I'd stopped by my parents' house to pick up some old photo albums I needed. I thought no one was home, but as I came down the stairs, I heard voices from the kitchen, Chloe and Liam. They must have let themselves in. I froze, hidden by the stairwell wall. Honestly, Liam, you should have seen Maya's face, Chloe was saying, and her tone wasn't regretful, it was mocking. There was a low chuckle from Liam. It was like a slapped fish. All that planning for her boring little party, and bam! We totally stole the show. Chloe, maybe ease up, Liam said, but there was amusement in his voice, not censure. Oh, please, Chloe scoffed. She'll get over it. She always does. Besides, it's Maya. It's not like her engagement was ever going to be the event of the century. Solid, dependable Maya and her equally solid, dependable Mark. Yawn. My breath caught in my throat. Boring. Dependable. Yawn. And the money? Liam asked, his voice dropping slightly. Are you sure she won't kick up a fuss about that? Nah, Chloe said dismissively. She might sulk for a bit, but Mom and Dad will smooth it over. They always do. Besides, she can afford it. What else is she spending it on? Sensible shoes and spreadsheets? It was practically an investment in our happiness. And honestly, watching her hand over cash while whining about my struggles? Peak Maya. So easy. So easy. Liam laughed again, a sound that now curdled my blood. You're terrible. I'm realistic, Chloe corrected. Someone has to be the star, someone has to be the stagehand. Guess which one Maya is? I couldn't listen anymore. Blinded by tears of rage and humiliation, I backed silently up the stairs and out the front door, leaving the albums behind. They weren't worth it. Nothing associated with that house felt like mine anymore. That conversation was the final nail in the coffin of the relationship I thought I had with my sister, my parents, and my former best friend. They didn't just betray me, they despised me. My kindness wasn't valued, it was exploited. My stability wasn't respected, it was ridiculed. I was a means to an end, a reliable resource to be tapped and then mocked behind my back. That night, I told Mark everything I'd overheard. His quiet fury mirrored my own. That's it, he said firmly. No more. You deserve better, Maya. We deserve better. He was right. The people-pleasing, conflict-avoidant Maya started to recede, replaced by someone colder, harder, and utterly finished with being the family doormat. The first step was financial. I blocked Chloe's number after sending one final text: consider the $5,000 a final gift. Do not contact me for money again. I then went through my bank statements, highlighting every transfer to her, cross-referencing dates with her sob stories. It made me sick, but it solidified my resolve. I found old messages where she'd mentioned specific emergencies. Then, driven by a grim curiosity, I did some digging on social media. Chloe wasn't exactly subtle. Scrolling back through her and Liam's, mostly private, but I still had access then, profiles revealed tagged photos from pricey restaurants, weekend trips, festivals, all during the period she'd claimed crippling poverty. There was even a picture of Liam wearing a ridiculously expensive watch, a gift from Chloe, the caption gushed, posted just days after I'd sent the $1,200 for her rent. The pieces fit together with sickening precision. I saved screenshots of everything. Not for revenge, necessarily, but for ammunition. For proof, if I ever needed it, that I wasn't just being jealous or difficult. Next came the boundaries with my parents. It was hard. Decades of conditioning made me want to fold at the first sign of their disapproval. But Mark was my rock. He helped me rehearse responses. When Mom called, urging me to reconcile with Chloe for the sake of the baby, think of your niece/nephew, Maya, I stated calmly, Mom, Chloe and Liam made their choices. Their choices have consequences. One of those consequences is a change in my relationship with them. But family. She'd begin, her voice trembling with manipulative pathos. Family shouldn't exploit and humiliate each other, I'd reply, keeping my voice even. My definition of family involves mutual respect. Dad tried the guilt trip about loyalty and support. Maya, your sister needs you right now. Pregnancy is hard, especially when finances are tight. Then perhaps she and Liam should have managed their finances more responsibly instead of using my money for luxuries, I said flatly. I am no longer bailing her out. That door is closed. There were tears, accusations, you're tearing this family apart, dramatic pronouncements, you'll regret this, pleading, just talk to her, Maya. For me? I held firm. Each conversation was draining, leaving me shaky and emotionally exhausted, but also slightly stronger. Mark was always there afterwards, reminding me I was doing the right thing, that my feelings were valid. I threw myself into work. My boring data analysis job became my sanctuary. I took on extra projects, excelled, and earned a significant raise and promotion. The work was intricate, demanding focus, which was exactly what I needed. It channeled my anger and hurt into productivity. Mark and I also focused on our own relationship, planning our wedding, a smaller, more intimate affair this time, with a drastically reduced guest list. We bought a small house in a neighborhood further away from my family. We adopted a dog. Slowly, painstakingly, I started building a life where I felt safe, respected, and valued, a life that didn't revolve around the black hole of my family's dysfunction. I started therapy. Unpacking the decades of golden child/scapegoat dynamics, the enabling, the financial manipulation, the deep-seated belief that my worth was tied to my usefulness to others. It was brutal but necessary work. My therapist helped me see the patterns, validate my anger, and develop healthier coping mechanisms than swallowing my feelings and opening my wallet. Contact with my family dwindled to strained, infrequent phone calls with my parents, mostly initiated by them, always circling back to Chloe and my stubbornness. I kept the conversations brief and superficial, shutting down any attempts to guilt-trip me. Chloe occasionally sent photos of her growing bump, clearly expecting me to melt. I didn't respond. Liam vanished completely, which was a relief. I heard through the grapevine, a sympathetic cousin who had always disliked Chloe's entitlement, that things weren't exactly sunshine and roses for the happy couple. Liam was apparently less enthusiastic about impending fatherhood than he'd been about the secret affair. The artistic jobs Chloe kept landing and quitting weren't cutting it financially, especially with baby expenses looming. Reality, it seemed, was biting. Almost 2 years passed like this. My life stabilized into a new normal. Mark and I got married in a beautiful, simple ceremony attended by people who genuinely celebrated us. I was happy, truly happy, in a way I hadn't realized was possible before the implosion. My career was flourishing. We were saving for renovations. The ghosts of the past still lingered sometimes, a pang of sadness for the sister I wished I'd had, a flicker of anger at the injustice, but they no longer consumed me. Then came the inevitable summons, my parents' 40th wedding anniversary party. They were planning a big bash, a renewal of vows, the whole 9 yards. Mom called, her voice radiating forced cheerfulness. "Maya darling, you simply must be there. It won't be the same without you. And Chloe and Liam will be there with little Amelia." Amelia. My niece. The baby card, deployed with tactical precision. "Mom, I don't know." I began hesitantly. "No, Maya, I insist," she cut me off, her voice hardening. "This is important. It's for your father and me. After everything we've done for you girls. It's the least you can do. Put the past behind you for one night. For us." The guilt, expertly applied. Mark and I discussed it. He left the decision entirely up to me but made it clear he'd support me whatever I chose. A part of me wanted to stay away, preserve my peace. But another part, the part that still, foolishly perhaps, craved some kind of closure, felt compelled to go. Maybe seeing them, seeing me thriving, would be its own statement. And maybe, just maybe, a tiny part of me wanted to see if Chloe had changed at all, if motherhood had brought any perspective. Plus, ignoring a direct plea linked to my parents' milestone anniversary felt like handing them ammunition to paint me as the unreasonable villain indefinitely. I decided to go, but on my terms, arrive late, leave early, maintain strict boundaries, and have Mark with me as backup. The party was held at a country club, ostentatious, just like my parents liked. We arrived as things were already well underway. Walking in felt like stepping back into a pressurized chamber. Heads turned. Whispers followed us. My parents descended immediately, Mom pulling me into a tight, theatrical hug. "Maya. You came. Oh, I'm so glad." Dad beamed, shaking Mark's hand perhaps a little too firmly. "Good to see you, son." And then there was Chloe. Motherhood hadn't softened her, not visibly anyway. She looked tired, frazzled, a strained smile plastered on her face. Liam stood beside her, looking equally tense, holding a fussing baby Amelia. The radiance from my engagement party 2 years ago was gone, replaced by a weary resentment. She approached me, shifting Amelia in her arms. "Maya. You made it." Her tone was flat, devoid of warmth. "Hello, Chloe." "Liam." I kept my voice neutral, polite. Mark stood solidly beside me, a silent shield. "Say hi to your Auntie Maya," Chloe cooed at the baby, who just continued to fuss. An awkward silence stretched. My parents swooped in to rescue the moment. "Isn't she beautiful, Maya? You haven't even held her yet," Mom exclaimed, trying to push the baby towards me. "She's lovely, Mom," I said, taking a small step back. "Maybe later, when she's settled." I wasn't ready for that particular manipulation tactic. We spent the next hour making obligatory small talk with relatives, enduring pitying looks from some and pointedly curious ones from others. Mark stayed close, deflecting awkward questions and providing quiet support. I noticed Chloe shooting resentful glances my way whenever I laughed with a cousin or chatted easily with an aunt. The contrast between my calm demeanor and her visible stress seemed to grate on her. The inevitable confrontation came later in the evening. Chloe cornered me near the buffet table, Liam hovering anxiously nearby. My parents sidled up too, forming a united front. "Maya," Chloe began, her voice low and strained. "We need to talk." "Okay," I said calmly, bracing myself. "Things have been really tough," she continued, the familiar victim narrative starting up. "Liam's freelance work dried up, the baby needs so much stuff, the cost of living. We're barely scraping by." "I'm sorry to hear that," I replied noncommittally. "We were wondering," she hesitated, glancing at our parents for reinforcement. Mom nodded encouragingly. "If you could maybe help us out? Just a loan, obviously. To tide us over. For Amelia's sake." There it was. The ask. Not subtle this time, but desperate. Liam shifted his weight, looking anywhere but at me. Chloe, I said, keeping my voice steady. I told you 2 years ago that the financial support was ending. I meant it. But this is different. Chloe protested, her voice rising. This isn't about us, it's about your niece. Don't you care about her? Of course, I care about her, I said quietly. But her financial well-being is your responsibility, and Liam's. Not mine. Maya, don't be so cold, Mom interjected, her voice laced with disapproval. Your sister is struggling. Family helps family. You're doing so well now, that big promotion, the house. Surely you can spare something? It's not about sparing it, Mom, I said, turning to face her directly. It's about principle. It's about the fact that my help was previously used to fund lies and betrayal. Oh, for goodness sake, are you still harping on about that? Chloe snapped, her composure cracking. It was 2 years ago. Get over it. You were always so sensitive. Sensitive? I repeated, a cold anger finally starting to simmer beneath the surface. Was I being sensitive when you took nearly $5,000 from me under false pretenses? Money I needed? Was I sensitive when you used it to pay for dates and expensive gifts for Liam while sneaking around behind my back? Chloe flushed crimson. That's not. Isn't it? I pressed, my voice still quiet but cutting. Was I being sensitive when you hijacked my engagement party, the one moment that was supposed to be about me and Mark, to announce your own news? It just slipped out, Chloe insisted weakly. Or, I continued, lowering my voice further so only our tight circle could hear clearly, was I just being sensitive when I overheard you telling Liam how pathetic my party was, how easy I was to manipulate for money, and how I was born to be the stagehand while you were the star? The color drained from Chloe's face. Liam looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. My parents stared, stunned into silence for once. The overheard conversation, that was the detail I'd never revealed. You heard that? Chloe stammered, horrified. Every word, I confirmed, meeting her gaze directly. So, no, Chloe. I won't be helping out. Not now, not ever again. My role as the family ATM and emotional punching bag is officially retired. You wanted the spotlight? You got it. Along with all the responsibilities that come with it. You and Liam need to figure out your own lives, because I'm busy living mine. Tears welled in Chloe's eyes, tears of fury and humiliation this time, not calculated pathos. How could you? She whispered venomously. Bringing that up now? Trying to ruin Mom and Dad's party? Ruin it? I gave a short, humorless laugh. No, Chloe. You're the expert at ruining parties. I'm just stating facts. Facts you, Mom, and Dad have conveniently ignored for 2 years while expecting me to just forget everything and fall back in line. I turned to my parents. I came tonight out of respect for your anniversary. But this conversation proves nothing has changed. You still enable her, you still minimize my feelings, and you still expect me to clean up the messes. I'm done. I looked at Mark, who gave me a small, proud nod. We're leaving. Maya, wait. Mom pleaded, reaching for my arm. I pulled away gently but firmly. No, Mom. I need space. Real space. Maybe someday things can be different, but not like this. Not while you refuse to acknowledge the reality of what happened and your part in it. Chloe started sobbing loudly now, leaning dramatically on Liam, who looked utterly defeated. Some nearby relatives were staring openly. My parents looked horrified at the scene unfolding. Good. Let them manage this drama themselves for a change. Without another word, Mark and I turned and walked out of the country club, leaving the simmering wreckage of the party behind us. It wasn't a shouting match, not a dramatic explosion, but a quiet, decisive severing. Driving away, I didn't feel triumphant, just relieved. The heavy weight of expectation, guilt, and resentment I'd carried for so long finally felt lifted. I had spoken my truth, calmly and clearly. I had stood my ground. The consequences were theirs to deal with. My focus was now solely on the peaceful, fulfilling life Mark and I were building together, far from the toxic orbit of my family. It wasn't a neat resolution, maybe, but it was real. And for the first time in a long time, it felt like mine. The silence from their end in the weeks that followed was telling. No angry calls, no pleading texts. Just silence. And in that silence, I finally found my peace.